From our Universal Radio studios. Celebrities from TV, music, movies, literature, politics, and show business. At one time or another, they all come to the Ron Sedgy Show. So why don't you?
I needed money 'cause I had none. I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won.
You can try fighting the law all you want, but the law is always going to win. From politicians and celebrities to sports figures and business leaders, they're fighting the law. Now, here to sort out the nation's top legal news stories is America's favorite legal analyst, Royal Oakes. This is the Royal Oakes Show.
Robbing people with a 6-gun. I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won.
Thank Mike Horn, and welcome to the Royal Oakes Show. Welcome to our co-host, Ken Jeffries. How you doing, Ken?
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Good afternoon, whatever it is.
And our millennial correspondent, Connor Oakes. How are you today?
Doing great. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night, like Truman.
At long last, the Mueller report is almost upon us.
Finally.
Attorney General William Barr has it. The rest of us are going to find out probably, maybe even this weekend.
Bob Mueller actually
tomorrow.
emailed it to me also.
Really?
It was
Well,
sort of
so
like an
you get the
accidental
scoop.
chain CC, like, forward. I was just already, it was a fill-in. You start typing William Barr, and my email pops up.
And it's the telephone game where it started out with Mueller saying Trump did not collude with Russia.
Right.
But when it got to you, you said he
Trump
did.
did collude with it.
Yeah,
My favorite tweet of the week came out about an hour before the Mueller report was announced to be sent over to William Barr. And people talk about every Friday, what's Mueller going to do?
Is it going to be
this
Mueller
Friday?
Friday?
Yeah, exactly. And the best tweet of the week was everybody knew it was going to be this week, the next week, coming right up. And it's Robert Mueller perched over the keyboard, and the page just says, the Mueller report, and a blinking cursor underneath it. Frozen. Oh, no.
It wasn't like Jack Nicholson in The Shining, where he typed up,
all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, over and over and over and over and over.
Exactly. Well, so that's the big story of the week. A couple of other big stories. Of course, Donald Trump signed a special executive order to protect free speech on campus. No money for colleges if they don't protect free speech, which sounds like a pretty darn good idea to me, but we'll hash it out. Could be upsides and downsides to that. We'll also talk about the fact that, we have John McCain. The feud with the president continues even in death for John McCain.
You know what? I think Trump's favorite band is the Ungrateful Dead, because you know what? I mean, he's ungrateful.
That's a good one.
He's ungrateful to McCain, and McCain is dead. So there you go.
The only president in history to start a feud with a dead man and lose.
When I heard that, I didn't get a thank you note, I'm thinking to myself, does he really expect John McCain to send one from heaven?
Just punches up a hand holding the note.
But of course, he's talking about the family. So before we get to the top story, I think that it is worth mentioning that Barbara Streisand was in the news. Gosh, Babs, she
stepped in it again.
She's had better days. Connor, you are familiar with the story.
So,
what was the comment she made?
The comment came during an interview about Michael Jackson and the victims of Michael Jackson's molestations. Let's just say molestation. And that was actually the sticking point, because Barbara pushed back against the word molest. She said, look, Michael's needs were his sexual needs, whatever that means. And then she said, you can say they were molested, but I'll tell you what, those kids were, quote, thrilled to be there.
Right.
And look, now they're adults, they got kids, they obviously it didn't kill them.
Is she totally nuts?
Off her rocker. These people, these celebrities live in another world. They don't understand that their actions have consequences. And I think the thing is, when they look at each other, they look at other celebrities going down in the news for the bad things they did. Yeah. All they can think is me next. That could be me. I'm scared. In the same way that prominent men are constantly looking around going, oh, am I going to get me too?
But I mean, you're talking about generic celebrity attitudes. This is so off the charts.
Yeah.
This shows such such incredible poor judgment or stupidity. And you don't think of Barbara Streisand as that way. I mean, I don't admire her politics, but, same thing with Jane Fonda and a lot of other folks on the left. But I mean, this is off the charts.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a little strange.
But we also actually have a related story about Michael Jackson, and we usually get to our feature, Moron of the week, a little later in the show, but because it relates to Michael Jackson, we might as well toss it in here. So the idea is, if you've been watching the show, we talk about two stupid people, TWO, not TOO, and then we vote on who the stupidest was at the end of the show. So here's the first candidate, and his name is John Lomas, a 38-year-old factory worker from England. He has changed his name from Michael Jackson back to John Lomas.
Oh, good for him.
Now, that sounds okay, but the idea was, why would he have changed his name to Michael Jackson
in the first place?
He set up a GoFundMe account to try to raise the $160 he needs to change his name from Michael Jackson. As of a couple of days ago, not a single person has pitched in. So you guys can pony up.
GoFundMe page?
Yeah, if you want to help. He says, during my childhood, I had various obsessions and special interests, and one of them was Michael Jackson. So I went to Los Angeles several years ago. I changed my name to Michael Jackson legally. He says he's been diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. Shocker. He says he spent more than $1.3 million on Jackson souvenirs. Before his obsession with Jackson, he had a thing for John Lennon of the Beatles, and he changed his name to John Lennon as well.
I have a question.
Yeah?
What's the resale market on Michael Jackson paraphernalia like? Probably not good. Yeah. But if you take $1.3 million of anything and you convert that on the open market, it's got to be more than $160 for the name change.
I don't
care if you melt down everything into its raw materials and give it to a recycling plant.
A ball of tin. They're
going to give you more than $160, dude.
You should tweet this guy your idea.
I want to show it Pawn Stars. How much would they pay?
Yeah, I'll give you $159. My final offer.
So he switched once he was John Lennon. He realized that's not a good idea. He says you idolize these people. You just never really know what they're actually doing. Duh. I think he changed his name from John Lennon when John started dating Yoko Ono or something like that. Anyway, so he's a candidate, but I think he and Barbara Streisand should be a joint Michael Jackson candidate for Moron
will never
of
do this
the
show.
week.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, we can't
I don't know. Maybe we just won't tell her what we said about her
don't
program.
Don't retweet this,
guys.
okay?
If don't tell Bob.
Don't ever retweet this.
Yeah.
So the big story is Mueller. Let me give you my take on the Robert Mueller report.
Please.
You guys can tell everybody where you're coming from. It's interesting to me that the special counsel regulations are very specific, and the waters are much deeper than these regulations because there's a lot of speculation about what's going to happen. But essentially what the regulations said is that Mueller was to give Attorney General William Barr a confidential report, so it doesn't go to the public. It's confidential to the AG only, explaining only two things: why he is recommending prosecution of certain people, or why he is saying, I'm not recommending prosecution of certain people, and my reasons. Okay, now the ball is in the Attorney General's court, and all he has to do is two things. Number one, he has to tell Congress if he, the AG, overruled Mueller in any respect in terms of a decision, like no subpoena, no indictment.
And he said
he did not.
Not even once did he have to rein Mueller in.
So other than that, that's all he has to do, except there is a little kicker. The law says, there's special counsel regulations, say that the Attorney General, if he thinks it's in the public interest, whatever that means, he will release to the Congress and to the world if he wants some or all of the report. Now, certain things like a spy's name and secret ways we find out about Russian intelligence, of course, confidential sources, investigation methods would not be released.
Right.
Certain things pertaining to maybe pending investigations because other courts are still looking into it. The president might say executive privilege protects certain things, but he's got a high bar to get over there because the Supreme Court back in the Nixon era said, yes, the president has executive privilege so he can confidentially communicate with his aides, but it has to have to do with diplomatic things and secret, sensitive national security stuff, so that if there's a legitimate criminal investigation, the president can't say, oh, it's executive privilege, everything stays secret, unless he's got the diplomatic exception. So now I think what we're looking at is Mueller, that is Barr, the Attorney General, has to decide whether it's in the public interest to release, for example, to Congress evidence that maybe Mueller dug up that's incriminating against Trump, but maybe Mueller concluded, I'm not going to recommend the indictment of Trump because I don't think a sitting president can be indicted. So the Democrats are down in the dumps this weekend because they're thinking, oh, doggone it, we were hoping for the collusion evidence, and now it looks like it isn't there. But actually, it might be there if Mueller has a 300-page report pointing the finger directly at Trump for a bunch of really bad things, but the conclusion is, I can't recommend indictment because presidents don't get indicted.
And this...
we don't know that yet.
We don't exactly.
We're totally in the dark.
What we do know so far is that the Mueller's office has said that they are not going to recommend any more indictments. And from that, we cannot draw that they don't have evidence against Trump because Trump might be unindictable. But it does mean that Ivanka and Jared and these other people in the inner circle are not likely to be indicted. They're certainly not going to be indicted by the feds, that is Mueller's team, the way he's indicted, 37 other people and convicted 22. There are potential state attorneys general charges out there that could be brought by those people.
Southern District.
Yeah, exactly. Southern District, New York, especially, because it's all happened in New York mostly. But we just don't know yet. And everybody, sort of down in the dumps, like, oh, I thought that Mueller was going to pull the trigger and indict Ivanka, Jared, whoever else was involved with the Trump Foundation and the shady business self-dealing that went on with that. Right. But that's really a Southern District of New York thing
the other thing is this. Some of the Democrats, and I think Adam Schiff said it, that they were prepared to subpoena Mueller himself.
Yeah,
to testify,
Schiff did say that.
Right.
If they don't get what they want. If that's what
right.
So who knows what
and I think that's the next step, because the Democrats are not just going to be moaning and groaning and glum and down in the mouth. They're actually going to go on the offensive. They're going to subpoena Mueller. They are going to subpoena Mueller's documents. They want not only his full report with maybe some spy's name redacted, but otherwise they want the full report, and they want all of the files that Mueller used and his 17 lawyers over the last couple of years.
Are they entitled to that?
That's a good question.
And Department of Justice is going to push back probably.
Yeah, the Department of Justice is going to push back in part because there's this really strongly held rule by the DOJ that James Comey violated that says if we don't indict anybody, we don't blab about people, partly because people should be able to defend themselves, but if there's no court case brought against them, there's no court proceeding in which a person could officially defend themselves.
And the other part of it is if they couldn't even bring an indictment, there's probably nothing there, and anything they're saying is probably speculation.
Right. So what they're going to do, the Democrats, they're going to want, for example, to the extent Bob Mueller interviewed 20 or 30 or 50 people, they're going to want to get his interview tapes, the recordings, or any kind of transcripts. They're going to want documents that were gathered, and they've already started over the last few weeks. The chairs of the various Democrat-controlled House of Representatives committees, like Judiciary and Intelligence, they've actually sent out requests to 81 people and organizations who they know had some interaction with Mueller, saying, "Oh, we want you to hand over your documents. We want you to show up and appear." And so on. So they're going to try to create this sort of parallel universe where they can, in a very public fashion, essentially recreate what Mueller did. So I guess the question is, from a sort of legal/political standpoint, there's been so much anticipation of this Mueller report, so much hope on the part of Trump's critics that there will be evidence of collusion, so much confidence in Mueller as the guy on the white horse riding to the rescue. Will the American public, do you think, kind of have a reaction against Democrats as sort of sore losers? How much longer is this going to go on? Or
I mean, when you've built up expectations to be this high, it can't possibly meet those expectations unless somehow Trump ends up walking out of the White House in shackles, and it's not going to happen.
We had reports last night from April Ryan saying that there was celebrations going on at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, of course. I mean, their attitude is no more indictments. Thank goodness it wasn't me. I didn't go down.
Who knows, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Of course, not everybody is celebrating. Roger Stone is still looking at a November trial date. And, of course, to Mueller's credit, every single person has either pled guilty or no contest.
Plus all those Russian intelligence officials we can't get a hold of, but besides them,
Or there have been convictions, as in the case of Manafort. In other words, nobody's been found not guilty.
Yeah.
But as you say, the Russians are still at large. Stick with us on the Royal Oak Show.
We'll be back on CRN with the Royal Oak Show. Hi, everybody. Michael Horn from CRNTalk.com. You know, we provide you with the best in talk radio. 8 channels of talk radio, from radio on the left, radio on the right, sports talk, business talk, religious talk, Spanish talk, you name it, we've got talk radio for you. All at CRNTalk.com. Well, now we'll bring you video as well as audio. That's right. Watch your favorite shows like The Robert Conrad Show, The Fred Dreyer Program, What's Cooking Today, What's Cooking on Wine, The Lounge, and so many other shows in video right at our website, CRNTalk.com. You can also watch us on Roku. Just search CRN Talk, and you can watch us on Roku on any TV anywhere in the world. Also on Facebook Live. Go to Facebook.com/CRN Digital Talk. Facebook.com/CRN Digital Talk. Roku, search CRN Talk. Check us out on Tiki Live and at CRNTalk.com. Video for you talk fans, all from CRN Talk.
The smartest way for you to get the lowest prices on your plane tickets, domestic or international, is to call SmartFares, first or last, but you've got to call us before you book your plane tickets. Fly anywhere in the world, fly anywhere in the U.S., and SmartFares can save you up to 75% on your plane tickets. We have the lowest airline ticket prices on over 500 airlines, and you've got a great 12-hour free cancellation window. Plus, with our live agent help, you can always get fast help and fast answers. So on your next trip, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, how about right now? Pick up your phone and call SmartFares, plus save up to 75% on your plane reservation. So call right now. 800-915-2644. 800-915-2644. 800-915-2644. 800-915-2644.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies in a capsule.
It was early last week that I felt as though there was going to be a cold coming on. What I did is increase my intake schedule earlier in the day, and 2 days later, all symptoms gone. That was my first real battleground test to see, okay, let's see what this can do. Outside of that, I feel better all health. I noticed another list that says, yeah, this stuff is coming on. I've had people come up to me and say, hey, you know, are you brainwashed by this? I said, no, nothing like that whatsoever. I said, it just simply works.
When you call, use discount code FLASH, and we'll take 20% off any first preferred order of Balance of Nature and have it shipped to you free. Call 1-800-246-8751. That's 1-800-246-8751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com and use discount code FLASH.
Welcome back to the Royal Oak Show with our co-host, Ken Jeffries, and our millennial correspondent, Connor Oakes. Hey, a special feature a little later in the show, guys. In honor of Alex Trebek, the fellow who is such a terrific game show host for decades, we're going to have a presidential quiz between Ken and Connor. We're going to see who knows the most about American presidents.
I'm excited.
We'll be honoring Alex.
Oh, boy.
And one of you guys will be a huge winner, I'm sure.
Okay.
Also, this just in terms of the college admissions, I don't know if you've heard this new development of the story. One of the ways the kids were able to get really high scores is because the guy Singer in charge of the whole scam hired this genius
wizard,
Mark Riddell, who was able to get perfect SAT scores.
Incredible,
No matter what multiple choice questions, he got everything right.
Not
and
bad.
he would be told, dial it down so they get like 90% right.
My kid is really stupid. No one's going to believe it.
So Riddell has been charged, and at his arraignment, the judge said to him, okay, here's the question, Mr. Riddell. How do you plead? A, guilty, B, not guilty, or C, no contest.
Somehow.
So I think the judge has a sense of humor there.
That's pretty clever.
I got a couple of questions for you guys about Mueller. First, Is there any chance in the world that the full, entire Mueller report doesn't get leaked? All you got to do is put it on a thumb drive.
Yeah.
You got 16 lawyers plus Mueller on the staff. You probably got 200 support staff. Are you telling me somebody isn't going to take this and give it to the New York Times, slip it under the door, or if they still have a transom, through the transom?
That's a great word, transom. You're right. It's entirely likely, in my mind, that in the next 6 months, somewhere the weakest link in the security chain is breached, intentionally or unintentionally. But the other thing is you need the motivation to do it. What in the report... Well, there won't be any motivation.
That's right. If there's nothing bad about Trump in there, maybe they won't have an incentive.
Maybe Trump will leak it.
There's nothing in the report that if there's nothing in the report that doesn't come out through Barr's reformulation, summary, whatever, then what's the point of leaking it? It might be to the advantage of Trump's political opponents to keep it under wraps as this permanent boogeyman that, like, the secret insider of the CIA report on what happened to JFK. Well, don't release it if it just says that Lee Harvey Oswald.
Here's something, too. What happens if Fox says they have it, and they say it exonerates Trump and all of that stuff, and then CNN says, well, we have it, too, and it doesn't exonerate Trump.
That would be good.
Or MSNBC saying, no, it doesn't.
Dueling Mueller reports.
It really doesn't exonerate Trump, and here's Rachel Maddow to prove it. Or something.
Well, you know what I thought was interesting? A few days before the Mueller report hit, Trump said, let's get it out. Let's let everybody see it. And I thought to myself, he knows what's in it. Somebody leaked. I mean, it wouldn't be a shock if somebody in the Department of Justice infrastructure told somebody in the White House infrastructure. But, we don't know that that's true. But William Barr, I think, is under a lot of pressure to release it and be very transparent. Remember, he promised to be transparent in his confirmation hearings a couple of months ago. And one of the reasons he has an incentive to be transparent is because he wrote that memo a year and a half ago to the Trump people unsolicited. So just thought I'd let you know, Trump team.
You're invincible.
Yeah, you are invincible in the obstruction deal, because I don't think, as a former attorney general, I don't think a president can legally be guilty of obstructing justice by firing somebody. He has an absolute right to fire anybody in the Department of Justice, regardless of his motivation.
Right.
So I think since Barr has to explain that away, I think he wants to be seen as transparent. And, the fact that he said, I'm going to give you the summary, Sunday, tomorrow, or Monday, we'll probably get a pretty good look at
Alan Dershowitz, who probably will be on Fox trying to do this for some reason.
Dershowitz,
and then you have Jeffrey Toobin on CNN.
Right.
And then Ari Melber, I guess, is he the legal eagle now on MSNBC?
Yeah, they've all got different takes.
Where are you going, Royal?
Dershowitz
is legal too.
Pick a network.
Just got to stick with KABC. And,
that's true.
Matter of fact, I'll be on with John and Jillian Monday morning to talk about
I'm sure you are.
Dershowitz's take on this was... Dershowitz's take was the fairest, as he put it, the fairest thing to do would be to give Trump and his lawyers the full report,
right,
and then release for Barr to do that, and then for Barr to have his summary come out at some point next week, and at the same time that would allow Trump and his lawyers to put out a counter report of their own in response to that summary. And that would be the fairest thing, because Trump is the subject of the report, and thus having him look at it first would be fair, which of course in my mind would be nonsense. Why is it more fair to give him a jump on responding and preparing a counter report because he's the subject of the report? The fair thing would be, of course, to show it to everybody.
The question, I think, is whether or not Trump has seen this already.
It might be.
Well, I mean, there are so many issues that are out there that now that we assume, we don't know for sure, but we assume there's no smoking gun about collusion against Trump.
Yeah.
There's still Roger Stone being so cozy with WikiLeaks. There are still the issue of obstruction of justice, of firing James Comey. There's still the idea of meeting with the Russians to get dirt on Hillary.
Yep.
There's still the idea of the Trump Tower negotiations. Do you think really, though, that the public is going to latch on to any of those in the absence of smoking gun collusion?
No. We already know too much.
When we come back, the presidential quiz between Ken and Connor.
We'll be back on CRN with the Royal Oak Show. You're experiencing pain, back pain, shoulder, elbow, or hand pain, pain from a sports injury. If so, schedule a visit with Dr. Michael Sheps, the leading expert in laser therapy for pain management. Call 310-873-4422 or go to drsheps.com. Experience Epic T, the breakthrough laser therapy system that Dr. Sheps developed to make you pain-free in less time. Laser therapy is a non-invasive, safe, and effective in-office procedure that penetrates deep into your skin without damaging the tissue. It perfectly targets areas of pain to promote fast, natural healing. Relax your muscles, ease muscle spasms, joint stiffness, and arthritis pain while increasing blood circulation. For over 25 years, Dr. Sheps has helped Olympic athletes and sports enthusiasts alike get back in the game. Schedule your visit with Dr. Sheps at his Brentwood office in California. Call 310-873-4422 or visit drsheps.com. That's DRSHEPS.com. 310-873-4422.
Imagine this is your money and someone wants to take it from you. Who is it? The IRS. They want your money, and guess what? They can legally take it, all of it if they want. Remember, they sent you that letter that said, hey, you owe us a bunch of cash and we're going to take it from you. So what do? Fight back by letting our team of experts at the tax helpline work it out with the IRS so you can keep your money. And we're good at what we do. When you hire us, you get a team of guys on your side that know the IRS laws and will fight to save your money. So if you owe the IRS a ton of cash and you want to keep it, call right now and learn for free how we can help you put it back in your pocket.
800-932-1597. 800-932-1597. 800-932-1597. That's 800-932-1597.
Hi, everybody. Michael Horn from CRNTalk.com. You know, we provide you with the best in talk radio. 8 channels of talk radio, from radio on the left, radio on the right, sports talk, business talk, religious talk, Spanish talk, you name it, we've got talk radio for you. All at CRNTalk.com. Well, now we'll bring you video as well as audio. That's right. Watch your favorite shows like The Robert Conrad Show, The Fred Dreyer Program, What's Cooking Today, What's Cooking on Wine, The Lounge, and so many other shows in video right at our website, crntalk.com. You can also watch us on Roku. Just search CRN Talk, and you can watch us on Roku on any TV anywhere in the world. Also on Facebook Live. Go to facebook.com/CRN Digital Talk. Facebook.com/CRN Digital Talk. Roku, search CRN Talk. Check us out on Tiki Live and at crntalk.com. Video for you talk fans, all from CRN Talk.
The following ad contains shocking material. Listener discretion is advised. Is someone in your family playing a dangerous game of Russian roulette? Over 43,000 people die a year from drug overdose. 120 people a day. 5 people every hour. 1 person every 12 minutes. 88,000 people die every year from alcohol abuse. Over 240 people a day. 10 an hour. 1 person every 6 minutes. Somebody you know may be next. Learn how to help someone you love get away from the drugs, alcohol, and bad influences. With the FMLA, people can take a leave of absence from their job and still keep it. Call Quit Drugs 321 now at 800-378-3315, 800-378-3315, 800-378-3315. That's 800-378-3315.
Welcome back to the Royal Oak Show with our co-host Ken Jeffries and our millennial correspondent Connor Muell. So, guys, you followed presidential history in school and read about it, and we're honoring Alex Trebek of Jeopardy fame. So I'm going to.
Do we have to answer in the form of a question?
No.
Okay,
this will be simpler. I'm going to fire some questions at you. It's A or B is the answer to each question.
Do we have a buzzer?
2 choices.
Do we buzz in?
No, I'm going to ask first question to Ken. He'll either get it right or wrong. I'll give you the right answer, and then we'll go to the second question.
If he gets it wrong, do I have a chance to steal?
No.
Dang!
You can't because there are only 2.
Oh,
okay, Ken, here's the number 1 question. Who was our youngest president, Theodore Roosevelt or John Kennedy?
Kennedy was, I'd say Kennedy.
No, it was Theodore Roosevelt.
Really?
I was going to say.
Wow.
Connor, which president died the youngest, Kennedy or Franklin Pierce?
I used to say.
Kennedy.
You got it.
Hey, this is fixed.
Ken, how many eventual presidents signed the Declaration of Independence in 1776? Was it 4 presidents or 2 presidents? These are so easy.
I was going to say 0 presidents. I didn't think.
Future presidents.
Future.
Yes.
I'd say 2.
You got it. You got that one right. Connor, how old was George Washington when he became our first president? Was he 58 or 62?
Let me Google it for you.
58. 58 is right. Yes! Connor is right. Ken, how old is President Trump? Is he 72 or is he 75?
He's 72.
You got it.
He and I were born, and I told you this story, Trump and I were born in the same hospital in Queens.
Nice.
Wow.
Maybe babies were mixed up. Maybe you're really the president.
Yeah, maybe I'm really Trump. Yeah, at least 2 years. He's 2 years older than me.
Connor, which president brought our troops home from the Vietnam War? Was it A. Lyndon Johnson or B. Richard Nixon?
It was Richard Nixon.
You got it. And Ken, which president authorized the invasion of Panama to overthrow the Noriega regime? Was it Reagan or George H.W. Bush?
It was 1,000 points of light, George W. Bush.
Absolutely
George
right.
H.W. Bush.
Absolutely right. Nice. Connor, which state was our third president, Thomas Jefferson, from? Virginia or Massachusetts?
Virginia.
And Ken, who was our fourth president? Was it John Quincy Adams or was it James Madison?
I'd say John Quincy Adams.
It was James Madison.
Of course
you guys did great.
Yeah.
It was a big tie.
We did it.
You both know so much about presidential history.
Great job.
So, speaking of people who wanted to be president but it didn't work out, there was John McCain.
Yeah.
So he had his funeral several months ago in August, and apparently, I didn't realize this, but according to our current president, Trump had to approve a certain aspect of the funeral, some sort of state funeral aspect.
Apparently, there was pushback from the National Cathedral, which said he didn't have to, right?
Yeah, they came out and said, the president, nobody approves the funerals we do. We just do them, period.
So Trump believes somehow that he did authorize some aspect of the Trump. And so the other day when he's talking in Ohio to some folks who build tanks for our military, instead of talking about tanks and about how funny Mike Dukakis looked sitting in one and riding around like Snoopy, instead he starts talking about McCain, saying, well, I don't really care about this, but, I didn't get a thank you. That's
I don't care at all.
That's okay. We sent him on the way, but I wasn't a big fan of John McCain. Have to be honest, I never liked him much. Hasn't been for me. Some guys.
Great impression, by the way.
Incredible.
Oh my gosh.
That is an impression.
What in the world was he thinking?
He wasn't thinking. He can't think. He
has and by the way, he was greeted with a sea of crickets when that happened.
Yeah. He's lucky they didn't boo.
Yeah. I
think so too.
It's so ironic that he's the president, given that his brain has no, as neurologists would say, executive function. He has no ability to control himself. He cannot make a decision before saying something. He just says it, and then afterwards we'll continue on and on, ramble to justify whatever he just said, and his supporters have to do the same thing, try and justify why was it appropriate for him to say this about a dead man and how he never liked him, especially in this circumstance.
We get it. We get it. You hated him. And just go on, move on to the next thing. You can't, but he can't get off it.
So on a more substantive note, in terms of Trump's statements this week, he signed an executive order to protect students from rampant censorship and coercion on campus.
So rampant.
He says administrators who fail to protect free speech on campus will now risk losing federal research and education funding from a dozen federal agencies. And he's getting some pushback not only from liberals, but some on the conservative side. On the other hand, doesn't it kind of make sense to do something about what's going on the campuses? I mean, it is so politically correct with the speech codes. It is so impossible to authorize a conservative speaker, and they invite liberals and progressives. Shouldn't something be done to protect free speech on campus?
There'd be a court. I'm sure shooting. I was thinking about this. That there'd be a court fight over this. No. I mean, this is an executive order,
right?
Can you go to court over an executive order?
Oh, sure. If anybody thinks, well, for example, a lot of his travel bans and immigration stuff has been executive orders. So it's subject to suit.
Who enforces this? And what determines political? I mean,
that's the problem. Determines free speech.
Who does that?
Yeah.
Does the Supreme Court do it?
Well, when students have legitimate complaints that their views are being suppressed on campus because they are conservatives, when there is punishment of speech that is not politically correct, when the colleges welcome progressives but don't provide security for conservatives, say, well, we just can't handle it and so on, I think that there is a problem. The difficulty could be in the enforcement, and some conservatives are saying, well, gee, what happens when there's a President Elizabeth Warren in there trying to enforce this or wanting to enforce an executive order that maybe would favor the people on her side of the ideological spectrum.
Who enforced? The Department of Education enforced it? What body enforces this?
So Congress allocates money to higher learning institutions, and what this executive order is threatening to do is to say that if the executive branch decides that their certain school has violated this, that they will not hand out the money that Congress has allocated.
So they just won't give a check to College X.
But who determined? Did Trump determine?
Yeah, it's the executive branch. Yeah. Theoretically, it could be Trump or anybody underneath.
And that's why some conservatives who are worried about executive overreach are concerned about Trump exercising his power in an inadvisable way. Yeah. But again, I think that there is a problem because, I mean, I saw it when I was at UCLA in the early 1970s. It was a virtual unanimity in terms of the faculty. Virtually everybody was way on the left side of the spectrum. Yep. And survey says if you go into the campuses, you got 90 to 95% of the faculty being progressive, Democrats.
But again,
it's a Republican-free zone.
But again, regardless of whatever the bent of the faculty is, okay, let's say they're all liberal, whatever it is. But again, who determines who? Trump determines?
Who watches the Watchmen?
All right, we'll give the power to Trump.
Good idea.
That's
it's
settled.
Betsy DeVos.
So, sticking with the free speech.
Well, anyway, that was okay.
No, it's a serious question. Yeah. Sticking with the free speech issue, we've got Congressman Devin Nunes, who's very unhappy about some texts and tweets against him. Yeah. He sued Twitter for $250 million.
Sure, a reasonable amount of dollars.
Apparently, one of the tweets against him said, Devin Nunes was in high school, voted most likely to commit treason. It was basically like the Onion satirical newspaper articles, and it was something about Devin Nunes' cow.
So
I don't quite understand
he's a dairy farmer. He was a dairy farmer. Okay. I found this out last night.
Actually, still is a dairy farmer. He still has cows. He's a representative.
He's
from
utterly
California.
outraged.
Utterly outraged. Right.
So he's a representative from California, from a rural part of California. He owns a dairy farm.
Fresno.
Yeah, exactly. And he. So people made parody satirical Twitter accounts that purported to be Devin Nunes' mother and Devin Nunes' cow. And Devin Nunes' cow especially became the focus because Devin Nunes literally sued Twitter and the owner of the Devin Nunes' cow Twitter account, although Devin didn't know who that was when he filed the suit. He just named it as the Devin Nunes' cow.
Does anyone know? Does Twitter know that? Twitter would know, right?
Twitter theoretically might know, sure. And this is what he probably seeks to find out. He's seeking to intimidate the person by making them a national figure by filing this lawsuit against them. And, of course, naturally, as with, you could call it, I don't know, the Streisand effect, he now, by focusing a spotlight on these parody accounts that no one gave a crap about before, within 24 hours, the Devin Nunes' cow parody account had 450,000 followers, which is over 100,000 more followers than Devin Nunes himself has on Twitter. So obviously this backfired colossally for him.
Now, as attorneys, I mean, can he sue anybody over this or what?
No, absolutely.
It's a parody account.
It's a total parody thing.
And the judge will laff at it and just throw it out.
And Robin Abkarian, who's a columnist for the LA Times, I rarely agree with her, like never. I used to do a show with her on KBC. We had a two-person show, and we didn't agree then either.
But that makes good radio.
But she wrote this week in the LA Times, she says, I get it, Devin Nunes, your feelings are hurt, you don't like being called names, but when a person has a public profile, even a teensy one like mine, attacks will follow. And she says, I've been called a caterwauling, ululating, operatic diva. I've been invited to kill myself to make the world a better place. Been accused of being an anti-Semite and a man-hating feminist. I've been called Satan's little whore.
All those things came from Royal Oak.
Came from Devin Nunes' cow.
Just because I was thinking them, Connor, doesn't mean I
they all came from you, Royal.
We like her.
Robin's wonderful. But, it's an example. When you're a public person, you got to expect.
Of course.
Speaking of public people, you mentioned some negative thoughts, or they were emanating from your head, Connor, about Alan Dershowitz. He's the most confident man on the planet.
And why would that be?
I'll tell you why. Before this incident I'm going to tell you about, Ted Williams was the most confident man on the planet. Maybe you know the story about Ted Williams, the last man to bat 400 in the major leagues in 1941, I think.
Right.
The last day of the season dawns, and he's batting .399, which officially would be rounded up to 400. He had the 400.
Right.
And his manager came to him, and he said, Joe, you don't have to, or Ted, you don't have to play the last day. It was a doubleheader. You sit it out. You got your 400. He said, no, I'm going to play. You know what he did? He went 6 for 8 and ended up at 406. He is the operational definition of confidence.
Yeah.
Dershowitz has eclipsed him.
Wow.
4 years ago, a woman accused Dershowitz of having sex with her when she was a kid. And he fought it, and he got Louis Freeh of the FBI to be on his side. It was an ugly, horrible, stressful fight. And then the lawyer for the woman got another woman to come forward and say, oh, yeah, I had sex with him in an illegal, illegitimate way, too. And he fought that as well. And so they've backed off, and they're not pursuing it any longer. You know what Dershowitz did in a piece in the Wall Street Journal 2 days ago? He said, I've decided to do something unusual. I'm asking federal prosecutors and the FBI to open a criminal investigation of me, but not of just me, of my accusers as well. All three of us have filed sworn affidavits in federal court. They are in irreconcilable conflict. I've sworn that I never met either of these women. They have sworn that I engaged in sexual acts with them. Either I've committed perjury or they have. Now, how do you like that for confidence to say, come on, bring it on. I want a federal investigation of me and these creeps who are lying about me. Is that even more confident than Ted Williams?
That's very confident. And it's a pretty good grift. You don't have to pay for your own private investigators if you
sure.
just draft
Anthony
the FBI.
Pellicano's out of jail now, so he can be the investigator
Perfect.
for the government.
I love it.
Yeah. So does that change your mind, Connor, about Alan Dershowitz? You seem to have a frown on your face when his name was mentioned earlier.
I don't like his political opinions.
Yeah, okay.
But as to his confidence, yes, he's certainly confident.
Yeah, he went, I was going to say he went, no, I won't say it, but
No.
He seemingly has gone in a different direction or something.
Yeah, he's on Fox a lot now,
Yes,
and he didn't used to be on Fox
I don't know
a lot.
what that's all about, but look, he can do it if he wants. It's a free country.
So let's talk about Senator John Cornyn, a Republican from Texas,
Everyone's
majority
favorite.
whip. He's a very high-profile guy, and he tweeted this weekend, quote, "We were the first to assert that the more complicated the forms assumed by civilization, the more restricted the freedom of the individual must become." Close quote, Benito Mussolini. So he put a quote out there on Twitter from Mussolini, and boy, did he get crap on social media. What do you mean quoting Mussolini? He was a dictator. One guy, Ross Story's headline read, "Ooh, do Hitler next." Now, what's the deal?
Well, the trains ran on time, didn't they, under Mussolini?
Why can't you acknowledge that by quoting Mussolini, Cornyn was not saying, oh, what a swell guy, I'm going to quote a guy I admire. He was making a very clear point that, in fact, an ever-expanding government is the first step toward fascist rule. That was the message of the quote by Mussolini. Don't you think the Democrats who were attacking poor Senator Cornyn maybe were a little quick to rush to judgment?
I think that this is a good example of how Twitter, as a platform, was a horrible idea, and we should cancel it. Okay, so Twitter. The problem,
should we double the number of characters yet again? Would that help?
What is it, 280 now or something?
There's no magic number of characters. But guess what? If you want to introduce a quote from Benito Mussolini or Adolf Hitler about how great his art was or whatever, you know what you got to do? You got to do more than 140 or more than 280 characters worth of explaining before you introduce
Context.
Context. Give me the context. You can't throw out a Mussolini quote and just say, hey, this guy had some great ideas, because that's the assumption behind quoting somebody, is this guy's opinion is to be valued. If you want to put somebody out there and say, this guy was an evil, murderous dictator who killed people and was allied with Hitler contemporaneously with Nazi Germany and fought and killed Americans, and look at his opinions, you've got to say, look, one of the worst people ever in human history, in the pantheon of terribles, maybe deplorables, is even saying this. And therefore, because even he is saying it and you agree with him when he says it, maybe people out there, maybe we should be thinking about it for that specific reason. But you must give the context. You cannot just put it out there. You cannot just say, look, here's a quote from David Duke. Isn't that a cool quote? No, you got to give me the reason why you're quoting him and ascribing him
But isn't it
some sort
obvious
of authority.
that a normal human being wouldn't be quoting David Duke except in a derogatory way?
You know what? Given the attitudes that
I said
a lot of
normal,
people,
normal human being.
normal humans. Well, that's
There
the
you
Normal
go.
human beings on both sides.
Yeah, fair.
quote
Yeah,
someone that
fair.
we-
Both
So here's
sides,
an intellectual test. This will determine if you guys are intellectuals.
Okay.
By the way, do you know who Mike Lindell is?
No, I don't.
Okay, you passed. You're intellectuals.
Okay.
Mike Lindell is the My Pillow guy.
Oh, right.
The guy on TV who hugs his pillow and
I bought one.
Did you like it?
The pillow is quite good.
Okay.
Couple
So
years
here's the
ago, I
deal.
bought the My Pillow.
Everybody was very worried about Mike the other day in Minnesota. There was a man standing outside in the cold without a coat, holding his pillow, and several neighbors called the police saying, "We're worried about this guy. It's 10 below. What's wrong here?" And so the cops showed up. It was a cardboard cutout of Mike Lindell,
Was it really?
the My Pillow guy. Yeah,
That's funny.
No, well, and what's really funny to me, Ken, is you can buy this cardboard cutout of Mike Lindell hugging his My Pillow pillow for $40. Who would order a cutout of Mike Lindell hugging his pillow?
But now I want one. Now that I know I can, I think I should.
Pillows are the pillows are quite good. That's
The
all
pillows are good, Royal.
I
The
think
pillows
Ken,
are good.
Ken is going to show up on Mike Lindell's next commercial.
I don't think so.
This is a powerful testimonial by
Yeah.
Ken Jeffries for all things Mike Lindell
Ken Schilling
and
right
My
here, right
Pillow.
now.
My
the day
guy.
Ken sold out.
We'll be right back on the Royal Oak Show. Stick with us.
We'll be back on CRN with the Royal Oak Show.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies in a capsule.
I was singing in the shower, singing El Solo Mio. Oh, Solo Mio. As I was singing Mio, I sneezed. So I'm drying up, and I sneeze again. And I blow my nose. A whole bunch of stuff comes out. I'm suddenly realizing that I am breathing out of my nose the best I've ever breathed out of my nose in years. I don't think it's a coincidence that all of a sudden now I'm breathing. What has happened in the past year? I'm a talented agent. Little by little every day, if I experience it, I'm happy. I'm sure this has to do with balance of nature. I'm sure it does.
When you call, use discount code FLASH, and we'll take 20% off any first preferred order of Balance of Nature and have it shipped to you free. Call 1-800-246-8751. That's 1-800-246-8751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com and use discount code FLASH.
If Ernest Hemingway was alive today, would he say this to you?
Shakespeare, Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe, all great writers. And after reading your book, I simply must add you to the list.
Wait, you don't have a book yet. So make a free call to Page Publishing. Their expert staff can help you turn your book idea into a real book, a masterpiece that could someday make the bestseller list in hard copy and digitally all across the world. Page Publishing can help you completely take your idea for a book, write it, and publish it. So if you want to join the ranks of some of the most famous authors in the world, call now for a free information kit. Turn your book idea into publishing gold. Make a free call right now to Page Publishing.
800-378-3212. 800-378-3212. 800-378-3212. That's 800-378-3212.
When you really want Italian food, you've got to get to Columbo's. Columbo's Italian Steakhouse and Jazz Club, Colorado Boulevard, Eagle Rock. It's that little neighborhood place you wish was down the street from you. Seekers of luscious and appetizing gustatorial pursuits, indulge your fancies with steaks so absolutely yum-yum. Vegetarians have forsaken kale and Pilates and never look back. Fish specialties so fresh and delicious and chosen by King Neptune himself, and relish Columbo's Italian family specialties so delectable you'll be yelling out, "Bravo, bravo!" And let's not forget Columbo's world-famous meatballs, and you've got to try their breakfast pizza. Oh, and jazz every night. Service that's friendly, not phoning, and at a price that'll keep you coming back. That's Columbo's, that little neighborhood place you wish was down the street from you. Columbo's, mangia.
Welcome back to the Royal Oak Show with our co-host Ken Jeffries and our millennial correspondent Connor Oakes, and of course our Moron of the Week contest. It's going to be hard to beat these nominees. At the top of the show, we talked about Barbara Streisand moronically saying that the victims of Michael Jackson's molestation really weren't victims. They wanted to be there, and they're not dead, are they? Yeah. And the guy that changed his name to and then away from Michael Jackson. So here's our second candidate for Moron of the Week. A woman, Anuska Moss from the United Kingdom. She goes to McDonald's, and she eats as much as she wants, and then she's got a few McNuggets left over, so she stuffs them in her bra. Stuffs the McNuggets into her bra. Yeah, just for later. It's kind of like a pocket donut. You've heard the plumber
of course.
Commercials, yeah. So she forgets. What are you going to do? So then she goes out on a date later that day, and the date goes really well, apparently. They wind up back at Wilbur's house.
Oh, my goodness.
And what do you know? I guess they had one of those Velcro brassieres that they're selling. They're just flying off the racks. Anyway, so next thing you know, the bra comes off, and the McNuggets fall out, and it goes viral because she reveals what happened. So who would you say
She went out to reveal what happened?
Yes.
It wasn't even him?
She's a model. I think she likes the attention.
She probably does.
So
sure.
who would you say was more
Models,
moronic? Would it be this woman who forgot that she had McNuggets in her bra and, oh boy, funny story? Or would it be Barbara Streisand saying Michael Jackson didn't really do anything wrong?
I don't know much about bras. I'm going to be honest with you.
Okay.
Maybe that's embarrassing to admit, but I don't have I would say I have a working knowledge of bras, but not an intense or
nonetheless, I predict an opinion forthcoming nonetheless.
I can't walk 10 feet if there's the world's tiniest pebble in my shoe.
Oh, so you're like the Princess and the Pea.
Exactly, when it comes to that. The idea that I could have a couple of nuggets in my man's ear, and
I think it's a bro. It's called a bro.
Of course. And have that go unnoticed.
Got a couple of nuggets in your bra? You're just happy to see me.
I mean, I walk around with a couple of nuggets all the time, and I just work with it, but they don't get in the way. These ones you'd have to imagine would be somewhat, there'd be a lot of pressure, and it would be greasy.
So who's the moron then, her or her Babs?
She's not moronic for doing this.
Right, so you're voting for Barbara Streisand.
Yeah, for sure. She's just strange.
People have been voting for Barbara for decades.
It's probably and I really, God.
Speaking of,
it's a tie. It's a tie.
It's a tie. Wow. Speaking of McDonald's, there's a little news item here. This is great. You can buy a Lazy Boy now with a built-in phone charger and a built-in cooler that will keep your McDonald's McFlurries at a chill 33 degrees. It's
we have the one at home with we have a sofa thing with the phone charger, but not the McFlurry.
Ooh, we got to get
Well, you can upgrade, Ken, to the McDelivery couch. The McDonald's people want you never have to move at all.
$10,000 for a chair.
That's right.
How much is it?
Who knows?
I don't know.
An unreasonable amount.
They refuse to tell us. Yeah. So there's something called Jexodus. And apparently it's a thing. It's a fledgling effort by Republicans to woo Jews away from the Democratic Party.
I've heard about it. I've done some reading on it.
Jexodus. They say, we left Egypt, now we're leaving the Democratic Party. That's pretty clever. Some 79% of Jews voted for Democrats in last year's midterm elections, up from 71% who voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. So it's going the wrong way. So I think this Jexodus thing maybe is going to have an uphill battle. Jews take a dim view of Mr. Trump.
Yep.
And according to a 2018 Gallup poll that found that just 26% of Jews approved of the president's performance, the lowest of any major religious group. On the other hand, the Golan Heights thing this week, it's the first time in decades that a U.S. president has come out saying Israel is entitled to this disputed territory.
Parenthetically, Netanyahu is up for re-election in about 2 weeks, and this might have something to do with what Trump did.
Yeah, I think it's very possible because Trump is a huge supporter, and very likely Trump was told by his people, you really need to help Netanyahu.
Yeah.
And this was designed to give him a really big
for that
boost.
demo.
Hey, guys, congratulations on the terrific performance on the presidential poll. We got through a whole lot of stories in this huge news week, and next week, maybe the details of the Mueller report. See you then.
Which was most appropriate because that was your theme.
Are you tired of hearing your favorite talk radio show sound like this? What if you could hear your favorite shows in crystal clear, high-definition digital sound? Well, with CRN Digital Talk Radio's 6 channels of high-definition radio, you can now hear all of your favorite hosts like you've never heard them before in CRN HD. The difference is amazing.